Can you say a little bit, Gurudev, about meditation in motion? You know, when you started teaching asana practice, you know, and more so in the 70s and 80s, and even now, there's, you know, a lot of yoga isn't necessarily teaching a lot about the type of meditative awareness to have during the asana practice. It's, you know, it's typically done more of a strictly physical practice, not everywhere. But I'm curious if you could say more about the concept of meditation in motion and, you know, using asana as a practice to, you know, deepen a meditation practice and gain insight.
So that is the very important question, because yoga is popularly, globally practiced as a physical discipline. When I had an awakening experience in 1970, the whole new dimension of life was revealed to me. The secret of yoga was revealed to me. And it was the experience of meditation in motion, where suddenly my body was entering into different postures prompted by the inner impulses rather than mind telling body what to do. In yoga, it is called prana awakening. So that experience was so profound and life-changing that I wanted to share it with all my students at that time. So out of that, I developed the whole new practice of yoga, and so that people can experience the inner dimension of yoga called meditation in motion. Ordinarily, when people practice yoga, their mind is interacting with the body. This means your meditative interaction with the body. Which means there is active mind-body. Instead of mind-body, it is consciousness and body, awareness and body interacting with each other. So that takes the practice of yoga into a whole new dimension. And the therapeutic benefits of the physical yoga are taken way high to the extraordinary benefits of spiritual combined with biological practice of yoga. So it is called combined practice of Hatha and Raja Yoga, physical and spiritual yoga.
You know, in psychology, and there's the whole discipline of somatic psychology, and often we talk about how the body has memory stored in the body. When we're doing yoga in different postures, are we evoking memories? What's happening in those postures?
Yes. So fundamentally, this is the area that was revealed to me, that most people, all their entire thinking about themselves, others, or the world comes from their pre-programmed post-traumatic memory disorder. Instead of stress disorder, I said memory disorder. So because memory is there, because it was reactively perceived process experiences that are built into the memory, that means it is personal creation out of the impersonal reality. So that means every time people look through no matter what, whenever you are in interaction with yourself, others, or the world, you are acting out of your memories. Means memory are built by reacting to what is present. Therefore, it has become blind to what is present. So whenever someone or something triggers that memory, you can see who is present. Why? Because who is present triggered your memory. They didn't create your memory. So when you superimpose your memory over the person who triggered it, what is in your memory appears outside of you. This is the most profound discovery that most people do not know, that everything that you see outside, everything that you interact outside reactively is created by you, by your memories of the past. It has nothing to do with reality.
And when you're doing asana practice, are you actually working with that memory system? Is a part of asana practice to work with relating to this?
This is what I have built. Yes, this is what I have built into the practice, because when people are practicing asanas, if they are practicing as a physical discipline, then their mind is interacting with their body. So in yoga, you are replacing it with your witness interacting with the body. So ordinarily, when you encounter the stress in your body, stiffness in your body, tight joints in your body, I call it edge. When you face edge in the body, your edgy ego mind gets into fight or flight interaction with the body. And that means it is called ego posture. So when you replace the fight or flight with co-creative interaction from the witness, then you are connecting, you are withdrawing from the conflict-creating memories of the past and interacting through the awareness of the present.
I like that frame of co-creating between the mind and the body as an expression of wellness, maybe, or lack of, let's say, war between the body and the mind.
Right. So this is the way we live. Humanity has just evolved from subconscious state of instinctive animal body into self-conscious state. This is new for the humanity. So collectively, all humans are born identified with their ego mind as myself. Mm-hmm. So everybody is saying, without knowing, that what I think about myself is who I am. What I think about people is they are. Can you believe that? That's what everybody thinks. And what I think about the world is that what the world is about. So people's mind, the world is coming out of them, out of their memories of the past. So each individual is living in the world of its own creation. Mm-hmm. Therefore, so one person, and you could be living with your wife or children. So one person creating hell out of that life, another person is creating heaven out of the same life. It is personal creation. So yoga is how to create, how to alter that creation from the past, which is causing so much emotional stress and so much PTSD. How to dismantle that. That's what this yoga is about. So that's the power of this meditation in motion yoga. And it is directly connected to what Patanjali, the father of yoga, who has written the scripture on yoga, he says yoga means witnessing the modifications of mind. Mm-hmm. That's the first sentence. That's a complete description of yoga. So today, all over the world, people are practicing ego posture rather than yoga posture. So he says yoga posture begins with meditation.
So, Gurudev,
Yes.
I'm curious. This is maybe a basic question from a beginner, but it seems important as a distinction. When we talk about the ego, are we only talking about this sort of wounded, traumatized, deficient part of us that is seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, and, like you said, living in kind of the hallucination of the past? What happens when the ego is healed? Does it disappear into the divine self, or how do you talk about a healthy ego?
So I would say that ego is, I would say that God is camouflaged ego, and ego is uncamouflaged God.
Yeah.
So entire practice, yoga says, is how to remove the layers and layers of ignorance that has been laid over the reality of the being that I am. So yoga means peeling each layer every day, every time you remove your reactive perception into meditative interaction. You are peeling the layers of the conditioned past, memories of the past, and and with each layer you remove, the light of consciousness hidden behind it shines progressively brighter.
And when a person when a soul exits the body, is the view in your tradition, Gurudev, is the view that karma is what would propel a soul into another physical body?
Yes, that's a very important question, because when the individual soul separates from the cosmic reality, it operates through the medium of the mind in the dimension of time. That is individual creation. And everything that ego mind creates individually in its interaction with reality is called karma, personal creation. And then every creation has its own karmic consequences. As you sow, so shall you reap. So that is where humanity is suffering from.
Do you, Gurudev, is your view so more? This is a cosmology question of: are there forces of good and evil at play on this planet that are battling, or is it more just simply people's individual expression? Is there more of like a metaphysical level of good and evil forces, or is it simply an individual expression of people working things out together?
That's another good question. So God, the creator, is whole, and it's undivided whole. There exists nothing like good or evil, heaven or hell. But when man separated from the whole and reacted to the presence that God is, it divided the present into, I like it, I don't like it. You are for me, you are against me. That division is man's creation.
I'm wondering about when we talk about building a healthier mind. I love to ask you this because of your unique perspective, Gurudev. Is it a more effective or more efficient path to connect with the witness, or is it more effective or more necessary to look at the imbalances in this?
Yes, everything in the practice of yoga is about your changing your relationship with yourself. That's fundamental. And when you change your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your love life, family life, work life, or social life automatically changes. So the whole focus is inner change. And inner change is changing the mind that lives through the memories of the past. So that is why yoga is withdraw from the memories and see through the non-reactive, direct perception of reality as it is.
And Gurudev, what's your interpretation of the concept of enlightenment? Is it possible to stay indefinitely in the experience of this, what you're calling the supermind or the higher self versus the lower mind? Or, I mean, is that certain people frame enlightenment that way, that you can stay indefinitely present? What's your definition of enlightenment?
So enlightenment means you have erased all the distorted impressions of reality that are carried in the memories of your past. So when you remove all the memories that are distorting your perception of reality of the being, the light of being that I am, when you remove that, you are enlightened, means lighten, you are light from within. And the light is just not choosing for or against. It just shines everywhere equally. It's on the pile of dirt, or it could be the diamonds. The light does not make any choice for or against. So
and is it possible?
Enlightened being does not choose who or what is present as for me or against me. It has no friends or enemies. It lives in compassion for every living being.
And is it possible to completely dissolve every single past imprint and never have another one show up again? Is that possible? So enlightenment then stretches out into the future for the rest of a person's
enlightened beings.
Uh-huh.
That is what my guru was. He reached the highest level of samadhi, where he realized God. He became God-like. That's what it is. So that is what they call Buddha, or that was Christ. That was Krishna. All the enlightened masters who realized the truth, they experienced God within so completely that there was no more God outside that they were trying to get to. That is what it means. Know thyself. Know who you are. And when you know who you are, the really are, then you are enlightened.
I'm curious about the dangers along the path around when a student begins to achieve or have glimpses of experiencing life from this neutral place, from this witness. And the student in their ego begins to notice, well, I'm having these experiences now. And there can become spiritual pride. How do you work with that? Or do you trust that the world is going to humble that person and take them back down?
If you are practicing, you are converting your reactive perception from your memories into non-reactive perception. All that is self-correcting all along the way. You don't have to correct anything.
Mm-hmm. So it'll take care of itself.
Right, it takes care of itself. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm also wondering about the sort of yamas and niyamas, and talking about one way to frame this is authentic action. Is in order to have action that furthers our growth, is this something that we should first focus on the actions, like sort of like a code, a moral code, like the yamas and niyamas, where we're following a moral code, Or do you teach more like you just do your practice, and action will take care of itself over time?
Right. Just as I said, if you are interacting with life and with your body and with others in a meditative way, all the yamas and niyamas and all the positive thinking and negative thinking gets corrected, because this is not positive thinking that makes you grow. This is the meditation is going beyond both positive and negative, that comes from the memories of the past, that allows you to transcend the past.
Mm-hmm. Another question's about Kundalini, and you're obviously a very good person to ask this question coming from a Kundalini lineage. There's a lot of people that often say they had Kundalini illness, right? Where Kundalini spontaneously arose and created mental health illness and things like that. Is that actually really a common issue, having Kundalini illness? Or is that not actually often Kundalini arousal doesn't really typically lead to people actually getting sick?
This is such a general question that it depends on the person and how he thinks about it, how he interprets it. So I don't know what to say about that. It's all individual creation, and there is no core principle I can tell you that will make it right or wrong.
Well, maybe we take the question in a little bit of a different place and just talk a little bit about Kundalini awakenings for a moment, and maybe just speaking to a little bit about what is Kundalini and why is that relevant to the spiritual path?
So this is what I have built into the practice of I Am Yoga. I call my practice, I call I Am Yoga, because it leads you back to the I am that I am, the divine that is inborn within us. And that is the purpose of Kundalini Yoga. Actually, my guru was the Kundalini Yoga master of the century. That was one of the very few masters who had practiced Kundalini Yoga. So I come from that tradition, and that is what I have built into it. So it is very practical, very attainable, but when people read something, they do not know what the truth about it. So therefore, Kundalini may look dangerous to some, and people, they read what they understand what they read, and it is not what they read. So that is what I teach Kundalini Yoga in a way that it can be attainable for any person at any time. That is in a practical terms.
In recent years, really, I would say in the last 10 years, there's been quite a bit of medical research here in America on the applications of yoga for mental health problems, anxiety, insomnia, depression, and so forth. And I'm wondering if have you seen yoga have the ability to heal even more severe conditions, people with psychosis.
And yoga can heal. Yoga can be very helpful in healing all such problems, such as anxiety, fear, depression. But if it is very acute level, then they need to take the help of psychiatry.
Mm-hmm. And then,
so this is why I have written a book on 12 steps, yogic perspective on 12 steps, because yoga can be very useful for the people who go through addiction program in any area, like addiction to food or work or sex or alcohol or drugs, anything. So addiction can be very effectively treated through the practice of yoga, as long as the person is in touch with himself. And when it goes too extreme, like addiction that needs the drug intervention in the beginning. So once they come to some level of, like when they go through the halfway house situation, then they can probably use yoga. So yoga was not born to treat the illnesses 6,000 years ago. They had none of those illnesses. So they were born, they are created for evolution rather than focused on healing serious emotional disorders.
Right. And that's an important, I think, I'm glad you said that, because it's a modern application of an ancient tradition that, as you say, they weren't using it as a sort of a medical tool when in 6,000 years ago.
Right. For these more modern mental health conditions. Right. Well, as we wrap up here at Gurudev, we ask every guest the same question, which is that if you had a billboard that every human being would see once in their lifetime, so if you could get a message to every human being and it's, a paragraph or two, what would you want every human being to know?
It's only the person who sees that the way I'm going for seeking happiness, pleasure, and fun and excitement through indulgence in sensual pleasures is not working.
Thank you, Gurudev, so much for sharing your wisdom and being on the show today.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.